Hello, my name is Daniel Sliwa, and I spent 13 years in real time in a dream of mine. And apologies if this sounds a little pre-recorded. This is actually the third time I'm doing this because the camera before me is being a bit difficult, and kind of actually a symbol for the journey has been to tell this story, as I've been a little reluctant. I've only really discussed it with close friends or family members, especially my mother and my sister, who believe in this as well. But this experience makes me believe that there are different realms out there that we can truly explore. So I'm really hoping this time that this camera does not spontaneously shut itself off in a very eerie way, and that I can fully continue to tell you that yes, I spent 13 years in a real-time dream of mine in which I woke up on a Tuesday. I, like any other day, got ready for work and went to Brentwood, where I worked as a marketing coordinator for an awning company, and my boss, whom I'll refer to as Alex for the story. Upon entering the office, Alex told me that I needed to immediately pack everything, go home, pack up all my belongings, and get ready to relocate to San Francisco, where I would be stationed there at the second headquarters for the company in our expansion upwards out west. And like any other dream that I do have, the details are kind of blurry and you kind of just simply go along with it. Things might not always make sense, but it felt like an offer that was too good to be true, and it was, because in a lot of ways it wasn't real. However, I hired a moving company, I got a truck, drove everything up north 7 hours, and I was positioned at the heart of the city that I soon fell very much in love with. I love the art scenes, the layout of it, the culture, the shops, everything, the park that I would jog at every day, just sitting outside temples and reading. I was very comfortable and I was doing very well in business, and I felt so very comfortable and in an open space that I ended up meeting someone on a morning jog. Her name was Alice, and I love her very much so. She was an incredibly fiery woman who would float off with me, but also stay grounded. She would crack the dirtiest jokes out of nowhere, just light up any room that she walked in. And to this day, I still have flashes and memories of her and what was or what maybe never was. Regardless, it was perfect and she was perfect. Our love for each other was very strong, so much so that within 2 years of meeting, we ended up tying the knot in a very beautiful ceremony. It was a smaller ceremony, but all of our friends and family who wanted to be there were there. It was around 80 people or so, and they were just very happy for us too. And we left from there to go to our honeymoon in Cancun, where we had an amazing time. So much so of an amazing time that we ended up unexpectedly conceiving and starting the expansion of our family very soon, much sooner than we thought we would, but still, as soon as our daughter Lucy arrived, we were absolutely happy. Lucy was very beautiful. She loved to draw and paint. She was so skilled too, to the point where I was a little frustrated at times, because I remember I'd be painting some canvas and like lost or stuck. Meanwhile, she was in our little art corner and she was just drawing with crayons on a piece of paper and completing whole new incredible worlds just with some simple primary colors. She was that incredible. And we really loved her more than anything. Our love for her not only grew, but she strengthened our love for each other, that we decided about 3 years after that we would have another child, second child, my first son, John, who I named after my father like he named me after his father. And I'll never forget just hearing my dad over the phone, so ecstatic when he heard that we would be naming him John. It was perfect. I'm gonna say perfect a lot because it really was. So John was very creative like me, but also very just sharp like my father. My dad is the kind of person who could look at a picture of a deck and without the instructions know how to build it. And John was like that. He would look at a picture of like a car and he would build it with his Mega Blocks. And then when he got a little older, around the age of 3, we upgraded him to Legos, and him and I would have just Lego castles and contraptions around the house. It was wonderful. And Lucy and John would never really even throw tantrums or anything. They'd cry here and there, get a little hissy fits, but they were really incredible children. And because of both of them and our increasing love for each other, Alice and I decided to have a 3rd child. But that's when things started to get weird. When you're dreaming, anyone who has sensed this, time and space kind of don't exist and they collapse and contract in their own ways. And I'll never forget, as soon as we saw the positive pregnancy test that Alice took and celebrated that night, immediately, just weeks went by in a flash, where she was far along, 8.5 months in no time. And things just kept getting quicker and quicker and quicker, almost as if I was starting to float out of the dream, but I wanted to stay in it. And I'll never forget, Lucy was very excited to have another sister. John wanted a boy. John just had to deal with it. I knew he'd love his new sister in time, of course, if not immediately upon seeing her, whom Alice and I were going to name her Susan, because Alice had a friend named Susan who sadly passed away when she was younger, and she always loved the name Susan, and I was more than happy to oblige and let her name our 2nd daughter. Susan was supposed to arrive the first week of November 5th, and I was really excited because my mom's birthday is November 6th. And I thought it'd be amazing to have, celebrate your daughter's birthday and then go celebrate your mother's birthday. However, Susan came a little sooner than expected. I remember it was on the eve of Halloween, October 30th, when Alice was experiencing contractions. And it was funny because we were watching one of my favorite movies by one of her favorite directors, Tim Burton. We were watching the movie Big Fish. And it was the scene where Billy Crudup, at the very end of the movie, it's one of my favorite endings to a movie, Billy Crudup is rushing his father out of the hospital to bring him to the river. And during this, Alice started experiencing some contractions. She had them here and there, and we thought it was just a sign that the baby was coming, of course. So she was just, kicking or just nothing out of the ordinary. Susan would still come later, within a week or so. But the contractions started to increase, and the time between them started to decrease. And it was at that point where we knew the baby was coming very, very soon. So I already had the bags packed. I threw them to the front door, and I remember being so irritated because I threw the bags to the door. I turned to Alice, ready to be like, "Come on, let's go. I'm gonna whisk you away in the car to the hospital." She jumps straight into the bathroom and starts to shower because, like the fiery woman my wife was, she didn't want to go to the hospital looking like a mess, in her own words, but she looked perfect. She always was incredibly beautiful. However, I knew better, and that once my wife made up her mind, I knew she was set on it, so I let her quickly finish her shower, and then we went off to the hospital. But that's when things started to get even weirder. The dream itself kept, the moments started to accelerate. We jumped in the car around 11:30, and it didn't make sense because within minutes before midnight, she was already in a hospital bed with a doctor and getting ready to deliver. And I knew that things were off at this point because when I have certain lucid dreams or dreams, anyone has maybe experienced this, where you'll be missing a finger or certain symbols or words will be off. So I look down at one point, I'm missing my pinky, I only have 4 fingers, Simpson style. And then I look up to the clock, and the numbers I couldn't even read, they were all weird symbols and characters. And that's when I remember I looked from the doctor to Alice, and Alice then grips my hand, turns to me with a smile. She opens her mouth ready to say something, but no words come out. And this was the eeriest image of the whole experience. When she opened her mouth, it was like but words didn't come out. It was a buzzing, a ringing, a tone. It was the tone of my alarm clock, and it kept getting louder and louder and louder until I woke up in bed, and it was Tuesday again. February 6th, 2017. I remember I ran around my apartment in a panic, looking for my wife and our kids. And sadly, Susan, who I never got to meet. And I just broke down and laid back in bed and hugged a pillow and began to cry and to mourn my family who never existed. Well, they existed in some way, but never in this life. They didn't exist. And I took off 2 days from work, and I went in a little later on that Friday, just walking around like nothing was really real anymore. And yeah, it haunted me. It still does at times. There's certain flashes or visions or memories of them that I have. But it's that weird feeling where me and Alice walking through the park and holding her hand, looking into her eyes, but as soon as you try to focus on any more details in the memory, it's just gone like that. However, yeah. So from there, it was an interesting few months. I was dealing with some things, probably compounded by this dream experience. I ended up getting a DUI October 13th of 2017. Thankfully, nothing bad happened. I was okay, the car was fine. That night, while being processed, I quit alcohol altogether, cold turkey. But the interesting part is, because of that, I stopped drinking. And from no longer drinking so much wine and bettering my diet, I lost 80 pounds. I started to eat better, exercise more, take supplements, nothing outrageous, just your typical fish oils, magnesium, zinc, a lot of NAD boosters. Through strengthening that and my focus, my dreams became stronger. And what's even more fascinating is in March of 2020, I was hired by a documentarian to travel the West Coast, up and down California, and film the effects of COVID and how different cities and groups were reacting to things. And when I finally made it to San Francisco, I was there for 2.5 days, and I almost knew the layout at times. I saw the coffee shop that I used to love to write at. I saw the park that I loved to jog at. It was even so weird as that I was walking on the street, and at one point I was like, I think if I go like 5 blocks, make a right, 2 more blocks, make a left, I'll see. And there it was, a temple that I visited a few times in my dreams. There's something more to this for sure. Now, rest my head on a pillow, or lay outside tanning, or even just be biking at the gym and lost in a trance, and suddenly I float off into a world that feels more real than this one at times. And I firmly believe that we as a people have the ability to all experience this, to drift into other realms. What if every moment in this day, every day in this year, every year in this life, every life through lifetimes, all happens simultaneously to the point where it's a push and pull of energy? And we have the ability to occasionally reach a certain point. Maybe you've experienced this during a nice yoga session or meditation session, or for me, sleeping, dreaming, where we can drift between these different realms into other worlds, into other possibilities that all exist up in here. It's just a matter of how do we access them. Moving forward, I wanted to use the camera equipment that I have as well as the lighting that I have to essentially create an active dream journal in which I will, as much as possible, wake up from my dreams, jump into this chair, and start recording them. For two reasons. Reason number one being for the sake of the documentation. I'm the kind of person who will have the most incredible dream journeys, meet reoccurring characters and people, only to wake up and they start to leave me within the first 2 hours. So I have a feeling that by recording them, moving forward, it will give me not only an active diary, but an insight into what I'm seeing. Number two, I wanted to open a discussion amongst people. As like I said, I believe that we all have this ability to float in and out of different realms in different ways. And after simply commenting on a few online message boards here and there, I've met an incredible response of people sharing their own stories of similar experiences. I don't think it's in my place to fully delve into who said what in their own dream stories, but a few examples being someone who lost a twin years ago, yet they still are greeted by this twin in their dreams to have play dates. Someone who maybe lost a parent relative, or one heartbreaking story being a woman who lost her father, yet she still sees him from time to time and they still share life lessons and catch up on life. I firmly believe that we have this ability, it's just a matter of how do we unlock it. And like I said, this is my way to document and unlock mine, hopefully, but also I really want to open a discussion in which I can speak with others about their experiences. All that I ask is that you simply remain open-minded and to please, if possible, leave a comment about your own personal stories, as I very much would love to hear them and to explore those as well with whatever you're comfortable with, but mainly to continue forth with a new experiment and idea to simply try to understand more and to dive deeper into these different realms. I spent 13 years in real time in a dream of mine. It's utterly terrifying at times. It's very beautiful, very sad. It still gets me. But I can't help but feel that somewhere out there is my wife and my children, and other versions of me, and other lives and other lifetimes out there, all floating in the ether, and that this is simply my response to it, to hopefully reach out to those people as my dreams have begun to reach out to me as well. I believe the universe speaks to me in threes through different symbols or phrases that people will say. In the past 3 nights, in some form in my dream, I've had someone come to me and say, you need to tell your tale, you need to say your tale, you need to tell 3 times, 3 nights in a row. So it's a sign for me to start this project. I'm a bit nervous about what could come from it, nervous in that how people might respond to this, but very excited to continue forth with at least a little journal of mine. All that I ask is you remain open-minded, share your own stories, and let's move forth together. So I will try to get up as much as possible early in the morning to jump in front of these cameras, flick on the lights, and record my experience or story of what happened the night before. I'm still still a little nervous, but more than anything excited to turn off these cameras, cut this together, upload it, and jump into bed and hopefully experience another new story to present to you all very soon. Hopefully not a nightmare. Last night's fast food fueled nightmare involved me defending my college dorm by very graphically destroying several of my college friends. Hopefully more positive dreams moving forward. Push those aside. More positive. More than anything, I'm excited to start my music playlist with some good binaural beats, get to bed a little early tonight, and hopefully wake up with a new story to tell you all. Thank you again for listening, and I'm just honestly very excited to start this, as well as to hear what you all have to say. Good luck with everything, keep on dreaming, and have a good night.